Super Smash Bros. What more can be said for the greatest platform fighter of all time? Many companies have attempted the crossover platform fighter before. Nickelodeon, Sony, Warner Brothers, twice. There was even a crossover game between companies Konami and Hudson Soft, as well as Japanese toy company Takara, as they made a fighting game where Bomberman could fight Optimus Prime and off-brand versions of Barbie dolls. But one company has yet to throw their hat into the proverbial ring, and that is Disney. Now, if a Smash Bros. Style game was announced, the internet would literally crash, especially if it was not a live service game that will inevitably get shut down in 3 months. So today, let's ask the question, what would the roster of a Disney Smash Bros. Game look like? Now, instinctively, you would think, come on man, you can't make a fighting game filled with princesses. And you're right. I really think that if this were to happen, they would go all in with it and use all their properties, meaning that not only is in-house Disney and Pixar on the table, but also Marvel and Star Wars, as well as a few others we'll get into later. I think that this roster could be stacked. There will be a starting roster of 45 characters, 15 from Disney, 9 from Pixar, 12 from Marvel, and 10 from Star Wars. After that, they will have 3 waves of DLC adding 15 characters, bringing the total roster to 60 characters. This does not include Echo Fighters, who will be different characters, but have the same movesets as their original counterparts. I'll talk a bit about each character and why they deserve a spot on this list, as well as their final smash or super move. Also, spoilers for all the movies and shows on this list. Now that may seem crazy, but I feel like if this game was developed normally, as in not a live service game, and they spend considerable time on it, then they can definitely reach the number of characters I have listed. So let's make a roster for Disney Duels. Mickey Mouse. It wouldn't be a Disney fighter without Mickey Mouse, so let's start with him. I think if they used him, they would give him a combination of tools from his various 30s cartoons, recent cartoons, and the movie Fantasia. He would be a good all-round fighter for the game, and he is Disney's equivalent to Mario, overalls and all. His super move should be the massive steamboat flying across the screen. Now we can already show off our first Echo Fighters in Minnie and Mortimer Mouse. They have everything that Mickey has, but just with a slightly different body type. Wreck-It Ralph. Next we have the inevitable pick of Wreck-It Ralph. He will definitely be a part of this game for sure. Hailing from the Fix-It Felix game, which will also be his stage, you have a mixture of grappling moves, brick projectiles, and massive punches incorporated into his moveset. I think he would play most like Donkey Kong from Smash Bros. Not only because he is similarly shaped to him, but also because his game is an homage to the original Donkey Kong arcade game. His super move could be him going to the top of the screen and raining down bricks as he smashes the top of the TV. Scrooge McDuck. Now we must touch on some TV shows. Starting with the older shows, we have Scrooge McDuck. He would be a very tricky character with a combination of coins and weaponry that he has gained throughout the years. Maybe he can have a move where he summons one of the 3 kids, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, rotating in a specific order, similar to how Sora's neutral special works in Ultimate. You could also give him an Echo Fighter for Donald Duck. His super move would be a wave of coins calling back to this.
Swimming in it! I love to dive around in it like a porpoise.
Perry the Platypus. Now we have to cover the mid-2000s cartoons, and I really think that there is no other person that can embody the era more than Perry the Platypus. While I could have gone with Doofenshmirtz or Phineas and Ferb themselves, I really think that he's the best representation of the show overall. He should use a combination of punches, kicks, and gadgets for his moves. His grappling hook would be a recovery tool that can get him back on the stage easily. His super move would be him calling out the rest of the OWCA, the organization without a cool acronym, to trap the enemy like Mega Man does in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Cricket Green. Now I think that we can represent a more modern Disney show, so I chose Cricket Green from Big City Greens. He'd be a great inclusion for this game. He would be a mixture of a brawler and a summon fighter, having moves where he calls out his family and animals to help him in the fight. His super move would be him raining chickens from space, calling back to the first episode of the entire show. Their house would also make for a great stage. Elsa. Now I know most people won't like this, but we do need a few Disney princesses on the roster, so let's start with Elsa. Having a cryomancer, meaning someone who controls ice, in a platform fighting roster will be a welcome addition because Smash Bros. Doesn't have one at the moment. Ice climbers and Lucas use ice attacks, but their entire moveset is not set around ice powers. I also think that Frozen would be a good Echo fighter for her because they share the same powers. I know that Frozen fights a little differently, but if Disney had to choose one or the other for the main fighter, they'd absolutely choose Elsa. Not only because she is more popular, but also because Frozen 3 comes out next year, as of the recording of this video. Her super move would be called Eternal Winter, where she freezes all enemies on screen. Moana. I think that Moana is a very likely addition to this roster because not only does she actually fight, but because Moana 2 and the live-action remake of the first one will be coming out over the next 2 years. She'll be an interesting addition to the roster because of her water powers, aka hydromancy. She could use various attacks utilizing her oar, animal friends, and her boat. Her super move would be her calling out to Ka to smash the giant stage like the moon item in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Mulan. Now we need to pick an older princess, and easily the best candidate would be Mulan. She could use many different weapons from her army, like swords, horses, and a bow and arrow. She could even have a taunt where Mushu sends out fireworks. She would also have an Echo fighter in Merida, because they share a lot of the same weaponry. Her super move would call out her army to help her fight as they dash across the screen. Okay, I promise. That's it for princesses for a long time. I promise. Jeez, that was rough. Emperor Kuzco. The Emperor's New Groove has become a cult classic among Disney fans, and I think that Kuzco would make a great fighter in this game. Using a combination of potions from Yzma and help from Pacha and Kronk, you can even have a mechanic called a groove meter, calling back to this.
No! You threw off my groove!
This would work similar to Ferris' Peanut Gallery move in Mortal Kombat 1, where the more hits you get consecutively, the more you build up the meter, which grants you faster speed and higher damage. But if you get hit multiple times, you lose your groove and your speed. The super move would be him slamming Zootopia onto the stage. Beauty Hops. With Zootopia being a pretty big hit for Disney, as well as a teaser trailer for the sequel coming out this weekend as of the time of this recording, I think that Judy would make a great representation for this game. She would use a combination of spy gadgets and fox repellent weapons. Plus, her super move has to be the fox taser. Chicken Little. Now, I'm aware that this movie is not very highly regarded, but I do think it's pretty fun. Many people have spoken on this topic before, but just because it is a bad movie doesn't mean that it can't be fun. On top of that, every fighting game needs a joke character. Someone to get the internet talking about them and asking, why is this person in here? and I think that Chicken Little would be the perfect person for that. He would use various moves from his movie like the baseball bat and his soda rockets. His super move has to be
Chicken Little! What is it? What's going on?
The sky is falling! The sky is falling!
Jafar. Now we need a few Disney villains in this roster, so let's start with Jafar. He could use many magic spells like a time freeze, a hypnotism move, and many different transformations. His super move could be him going genie mode and nuking the screen, or calling out his giant bird. Maleficent. Maleficent is probably Disney's biggest villain ever. She's so popular that she's the only reason people remember Sleeping Beauty, and she even got 2 live-action remakes of her own movie. I know that she is similar to Jafar, but I think that her magic is different enough for this game. Her super move will be her turning into a dragon and breathing fire across the stage like Pokemon Trainer in Ultimate. Baymax. Another character you can't have a Disney fighting game without is Baymax. His vast amount of kung fu moves and rocket fist moves will be a great addition to this roster. He would also be a very mobile character, which is unusual for a character who is so massive. His super move could be his Mega Max form from the animated TV show. Hannah Montana. Now, I've talked about characters from animated TV shows that Disney made, but there is one corner of Disney TV I have yet to touch, and that is the insane number of live-action TV shows and sitcoms. While I would love to put Mech X4 in this place because that show was really good, by Disney live-action show standards anyways, no one remembers that show. So I think I'll have to go with Hannah Montana. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know anything about her, whether I would ever want to know anything about it, but if you ask most people, if you had to name one show that always was on the Disney Channel, it would be Hannah Montana. Again, I know nothing about her, so I'm just going to move on. Now for the verse of the day. Hebrews 6:19 says, "We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure." Mr. Incredible. Now we are getting into the 9 Pixar characters. First, we obviously have to include Mr. Incredible. He's the best candidate for a Pixar rep for sure. Heck, he's so perfect for a platform fighting game, he's already in one. He would be a very basic fighter, using lots of punches and throwing lots of debris at his enemies. His super move could be him throwing the Omni Droid onto the stage as a massive meteor. Also, the same day I finished writing this, Incredibles 3 was announced to be going into production. How about that, huh? Mike and Sully. Now we have our first duo fighter in Mike and Sully. I think it would be really cool instead of them directly fighting, they could just be working, and everyone else is collateral damage. Their moves could include them scaring dummies, riding doors, and filling canisters. Their super move could be trapping opponents in a door and sending them to the trailer to get beaten up by this random guy. With Toy Story 1 being Pixar's first film and Toy Story 5 coming next year, we obviously have to include Buzz Lightyear. He would be a very agile character with tons of maneuverability with his wings. Other moves could include a laser, a karate chop, and other gadgets he could have. His super move could be him getting inside his ship and blasting the battlefield from far away, like Zero Suit Samus in Ultimate. Eva. Let's get a female character on this Pixar portion of the list. I think that Eva would be an awesome character in a fighting game. She's very fast, very strong, and her moves can be very creative. Her super move could be the rocket taking off and scorching the ground below. almost like a reverse of the item that is in Smash Ultimate that is from the Pikmin games. Plus, the Axiom would be a really cool stage. The emotions from Inside Out. Now, most fighting games have a creative fighter. Mortal Kombat Armageddon, Soul Calibur, and Smash Bros. Themselves have the Mii fighters. I think that this game should have the emotions as the creative fighters. I think there is so much creativity and customization to be had with these characters. You can change the color, the moves, and the outfits they wear. And also considering that Inside Out 2 made $1.5 billion, they would absolutely incorporate the new emotion somehow. Nick Missile. Now for a bit of a controversial pick. There has to be a Cars representative somewhere on this list. I think that needs to be Finn Nick Missile. He would be the best inclusion from them, in my opinion. His arsenal of weapons, from missiles to machine guns to bombs, could make for a great moveset. He could play like Snake does from Metal Gear Solid in Ultimate. His super move could be him calling out the bullet train they use in the movie to speed across the stage. Dash. I think that if any franchise in Pixar were to deserve a second rep on the base roster, it would have to be The Incredibles. Dash would bring a type of power that has never been seen in a platform fighter before. Speed. Yes, we had Sonic in Ultimate, but his moves don't show that very well. Dash should have moves that are very clearly portray his superpower of speed, making many tornadoes, sonic moves, and flurries of punches. His super move could be him running incredibly fast, creating a tornado to send opponents off stage. I also think that Pietro Maximoff, aka Quicksilver, would be a great Echo Fighter for him because they have the same powers. Their hitboxes may be a little bit different, but they can make it work. I don't know which one they'd actually go with, whether that's the MCU version or the Fox version, but if I had to put in a bet, I think it would be the Fox version. Ian Lightfoot. We need a representative of modern Pixar, and I think that no other character would be better than Ian Lightfoot. He could have numerous spells that shrink objects, create energy blasts, and various other things. His super move could be him hitting opponents with his brother Barley's van, like Captain Falcon does in Ultimate. And this concludes part 1 of the list. If part 2 is not already out by the time you're watching this video, it should be soon. So go watch that video for the Star Wars, Marvel, and DLC sections of this list. Okay, bye.